Okay, so we have a fairly complex sentence here, but we're always going to start the same way, and that is we have a main idea line, and we're looking for our subject and our verb. So the subject, what is it that this sentence is really about? We're looking for a person, place, or thing. Sometimes it's actually a little easier to look for the action, because I can immediately spot that the action is sleep, so that means on the verb side I'm going to put sleep. So who is it that's sleeping? Well, the students. So students. So that right there gets us what our main idea. The main idea of the sentence is students sleep. Hopefully that is before class starts, because if it's during class, they're in trouble. So now let's start picking off the things that are easiest. So I have the word the here. The is very clearly modifying students. So I'm going to drop it right in under students on my angle line. The students. Are there any other really easy ones? Well, let's take a look. First of all, the comma here indicates that this phrase, this prepositional phrase, may be set off a little bit from the word it's describing, because these are not students only in August. So in August doesn't describe the students, because quite frankly, those students will still be students in September, October, November. So in August doesn't describe the students. So let's set that aside for 1 second. The next relationship word I see is at. That means this is the start of a prepositional phrase. I'm looking for a noun that will end it. Well, that's going to be Greenway. So at Greenway, what is at Greenway describing? It is describing students. So this might not be a correct relationship, but this is. So I'm going to draw my angle bracket under students, and that is for the prepositional phrase at Greenway. Relationship word at, there we go, noun Greenway. Okay, so that is now taken care of. Took care of students, took care of sleep. So the next one I have is on. Is that a relationship word? Yep. So I'm now looking for a noun. What is the noun that follows on that is going to complete our prepositional phrase? On their desks. So on and desks. That's going to be the noun. What does on their desks describe? It describes where they sleep. So let's under sleep put a prepositional phrase. And that's going to be relationship on, noun desks, there. See, I've taken care of those two. There describes desks, so I'm going to make it dangle under desks. Yep. Man, handwriting is not easy using a stylus. So, in the morning. Okay, what does in the morning? Because here's your relationship word in. Here is your noun morning. That means this is a prepositional phrase that is functioning as a whole. So, are they students only in the morning? No. Are they desks only in the morning? Because remember, we can't have one prepositional phrase dangling under another, so I could have it dangling under here. But are they desks only in the morning? No. So the thing that happens only in the morning is sleeping. So on the desks and in the morning are actually separate prepositional phrases. So relationship word in, noun, morning. Takes care of that and that. That leaves us the, which goes under morning. We're talking about a specific one, so there we go. So now I have everything accounted for except in August. What does in August describe? Are they students only in August? No, we talked about that. Is it called Greenway only in August? No. Does the sleeping happen only in August? Yes. That's the one. So believe it or not, I have to extend this line out farther so I have more room under my verb, because I am going to have in August. Because each of these three prepositional phrases on their desks describes where the sleeping happens. In the morning describes when the sleeping happens. In August describes when the sleeping happens. So each of these three prepositional phrases has a completely separate relationship with the idea of sleep. And if you notice, in August is all the way up front. It's not near the word it is modifying. That is why this comma here is not optional. You must have this comma here because that comma tells you, whoop, time out, pause, pay attention, because this phrase is not modifying the words that are it's closest to. This phrase is going to modify something that happens much later in the sentence. And that comma is telling you to pause and pay attention so that you will pick up that the modifier has moved. Okay, we have a new sentence. The three students in Miss Canaday's room at Greenway have been studying for 2 hours. We always start the same way. What is our main idea? Well, go find me the verb. What is the verb in this sentence? Yep, studying. But we have a problem. That is not the whole verb. If I say I am studying, that is present tense, am. The ing means it's an action that's taking place over a period of time. That's a continuous verb. However, this verb is not in present tense. What helping verbs tell you where we are on the timeline? Have been studying. So you have to get the whole verb on the main idea line. Have been studying. Okay, so now the question is, what's the subject? Well, who is it that has been studying? Clearly, that's going to be students. In case you haven't picked up what I'm doing, I like to cross the words off as I diagram them, and that way if I'm on a test, I don't leave words off and embarrass myself. So let us start in. The is modifying students. We're talking the students. Make sure you capitalize that. The. Three is modifying students. It's telling you how many. The 3 students in Miss Canaday's room. Okay, time out. Let's take a look. Does the word in modify anything? Are they in students? No. In is a relationship word that tells us a prepositional phrase is starting here. Know your relationship words. Right now, what is the noun that ends this prepositional phrase? Okay, some of you tried saying Miss Canaday, but if you notice, you don't have Miss Canaday. You have Miss Canaday's room. See? So Miss Canaday isn't there. You're simply saying that she owns the room. I am not necessarily in the room at the time you say I own it. The actual noun that ends it is room. So, what is in the room? Well, in the room describes, the students. It's describing where they are. So, I'm going to put an angle bracket under students. So, what is my relationship word? In. What is my noun that ends the preposition? Room. And at this point, some students are like, wait, what do I do with all these other words? Well, Miss Canaday. Is it Miss Fowler's room? Is it Miss Brown's room? No, it is Miss Canaday's room. So Miss Canaday here is telling you which room. It's no different than saying the green room or the purple room. No, it's Miss Canaday's room. So Miss Canaday is actually an adjective. Your possessives are adjectives. They are describing which of those nouns you should look at. So, Ms. Canaday is actually one word. So it goes on one line. So Ms. Canaday's room at Greenway. At is another relationship word, so that's a preposition. What noun ends my prepositional phrase? Greenway. What is at Greenway describing? Does it describe Ms. Canaday? No, I'm not always at Greenway. Does it describe the 3 students? Well, it's not that the students are at Greenway, it's that the actual room itself is at Greenway High School. So this prepositional phrase is going to dangle under this one. So anytime I have a prepositional phrase, I make that angle bracket. My relationship word is at. The noun is Greenway. So now I have in Miss Canaday's room diagrammed, at Greenway diagram. That leaves us with for, to, and hours. Well, the minute you look at for, you should say ding, ding, ding. That is a relationship word, otherwise known as a preposition. So that starts a prepositional phrase. What is the noun that ends the prepositional phrase? Hours. Now, what is for 2 hours modifying? Are they students for only 2 hours and then after that they turn into goats? No, it's not. Is it going to be a room for 2 hours and after that it turns into a forest? No, the 2 hours is telling you how long the studying is going to take place. So that's your adverb. So it's going to go under studying. Always you draw your bracket when you have a prepositional phrase. The relationship word goes on the angle. The noun goes on the flat. For and hours, we have one word left to diagram. How many hours? 2. Those are some dedicated students. So that's number 2. How are you doing? So here's number 3. Will you study for Miss Canaday's test on prepositions? I should put a question mark there because that's a question. So are you going to be surprised that I start the same way? We are looking for a subject. We are looking for a verb. So who is the sentence about? Well, the sentence is about you. That's my subject. Now, what is the verb? You are going to be tempted to say study, but there is a problem. If I say you study for the test, I'm saying it happened. That's not what I'm saying here. You have a helping verb that puts it into future tense and suggests that this might not happen at all. What is the helping verb that matches study? Well, in English, sometimes when you're making a question, you take the helping verb, you break it away from the verb, and you put it up front. There is your helping verb. So if I'm going to diagram it, I have to put the verb back together. So it is you will study. Do me a favor, you absolutely, positively must capitalize will. That is the first word in the sentence, so if it's capitalized here, it has to be capitalized here. So do not lose track of your capitalization. So I have gotten rid of my subject and verb. I now have a whole lot of prepositional phrases. So right now, I want you to identify what are the 2 prepositional phrases. Did you catch the for is your first relationship word, your first preposition? Okay. What noun ends that? Test. This is the noun that ends the preposition because this is a new relationship word, a new preposition, which means that is a new prepositional phrase. Now my question is, what is it that this prepositional phrase is modifying? Is it modifying you? Is it going to go under here? Or is it modifying study? Will it go under here? What do you think? And what we're going to see here is that for Ms. Canaday's test is modifying the studying. Now, when you are looking at this, couple of things to note. Again, if you have a possessive, that's not a noun. Ms. Canaday does not exist in the sentence. Only her test does. So this is an adjective. The other thing is, make sure that you have a space here. You do not want your line for your adjective to come anywhere near that bend where the bracket forms an angle. So you need to make sure that you keep that adjective off of the line or off of that corner there. So now the question is, what do I do with on prepositions? What is on prepositions describing? I've got a couple of options here. On prepositions could be describing you, it could be describing studying, or it could be describing the test. So what do you think? On prepositions describes what kind of test it is. So we are going to put that right here underneath test to tell you that the relationship here is that prepositions are the idea that is on the test. These are the two words that are related. So, how did you do on that? Ready for another one? Okay, so now we have Hades' guests in the Elysium fields in the underworld waited patiently. I don't think any of you are going to be surprised if I start with a main idea line. What's my subject? What's my verb? So, who is this really about? Is it about Hades? No, it is actually about his guests. So, guests is going to be my subject. That takes care of that. What are guests doing? They waited. Do you have any helping verbs that change where we are on the timeline? The answer to that would be no. So the next thing I want you to do is I want you to mentally right now look for all of your prepositional phrases. You've got to get really good at this. When you take the SAT test, a lot of times they are going to try and trip you up by putting extra prepositional phrases in there, and they're going to expect that you can kind of work your way around those and recognize where the main ideas are. So right now, where are your prepositional phrases? So how did you do? I've got two relationship words, both of them are in, and then that identifies where the two prepositional phrases are. So let's start taking care of business. Hades, what is Hades doing? Well, it's describing the guests. So Hades is going to go under here. Of course, that's going to be capitalized, both because of the the first word and because it's a name. Now, if you notice, my apostrophe is in completely the wrong place here. I'm working with a computer stylus, so it sometimes doesn't work well. So, in the Elysium fields, what is that describing? It's describing, yep, the guests. So, we got to get that in place. Okay, so in the Elysium fields. How about in the underworld? Is in the underworld describing the guests, the fields, or the waiting? What do you think? So did you get that right? In the underworld is describing where you'll find the Elysium fields. So the prepositional phrase is going to dangle under fields. And that takes care of all of these words. And that means I only have one word left. And that is patiently. Where are you going to put it? How'd you do? Did you get this one right? I'm going to keep saying this. Start with your main idea line. Did Zeus's 3 children with Hera flee from the monsters? What's your action? Your action is flee. Who is doing the fleeing? That would be the children. Zeus isn't even there, so don't put Zeus up here. But we missed a helping verb. What helping verb got moved to the front because this is a question? Did. Make sure that you are capitalizing that. This is the first word in the sentence, so it must be capitalized. So that is going to be our main idea. So right now, I want you to tell me, what are the 3 ideas that are going to describe the children? What do you think? Hopefully those 2 you got pretty quick. Again, Zeus is not here. It's Zeus's children. So possessives are adjectives. So Zeus's 3 did flee, all taken care of. Children as your subject. So what's the 3rd idea that's modifying the children? Well, it's not just Zeus's 3 children. Hercules is not one of these because that's his child with a mortal woman. So you're talking about the 3 children with Hera. With is a relationship word. Hera is a noun. So this is describing the children. Here's your relationship word. Here's your noun. With Hera, did flee. That leaves you with from the monsters. Where are you going to put it? From monsters. That is describing where they fled. That leaves us one word. Please make sure you're double checking that you're getting all the words. The is describing monsters, so it goes under monsters. And that is your diagram for number 5. Did you get it right? So on number 6, I assume you could very quickly spot that Aphrodite was your subject. The verb is a little tricky. Again, you have a question. So you've got a helping verb involved. And this time the helping verb is telling you that the action hasn't taken place. So the main verb is sit. The helping verb that tells you that action has not taken place is should. If you notice, it's capitalized, so let's make sure you're capitalizing it there. Again, check off words as you do them so that you know they're off. So that leaves you on the golden couch. I'm assuming that you recognize that on is a relationship word that starts your prepositional phrase. Find the noun that ends it and figure out where that should dangle. Do you know? And there you go. On the couch is describing where the sitting should take place. So I've diagrammed on and the couch on the angle. The and golden are describing what kind of couch. So they're there. I'm done. Are you ready for the next one? Okay, so here I have given you the start for number 7. The monster fell is going to be your main idea. So my question is, where do you have your prepositional phrases? Find your relationship words, and remember, every relationship word is going to partner up with a noun. Prepositional phrases, they start with a preposition, they end with a noun. So you've got 3 of them here. Go find them. Okay, there you go. With snakes, for hair, and into the raging river. So let's start with our first one. With snakes. What is with snakes describing? Well, it's describing the monster. So it's not the monster with scales. It's the monster with snakes. Okay, so angle bracket, that takes care of with snakes. That takes us to for hair. What is for hair describing? It's not a monster for hair, so it's not describing monster. It's describing the snakes, how the snakes are functioning. So if it's describing snakes, it goes under snakes. As always, remember, draw your angle bracket. Your relationship word goes on the angle. Your noun goes on the flat. So that takes care of for hair. Now, where are you going to put into the raging river? So into the raging river describes where the monster fell. So it's going to go under fell. The relationship word goes on the angle with into. But what is the noun that ends this prepositional phrase? The noun is river. So river has to go on the flat. Always put the noun on the flat. Then you can put these words that describe river onto angled lines under river, since that's where they fit. They are danglies. And there we go. Number 7. The monster with snakes for hair fell into the raging river. And I have checked off all my words, so I know I've diagrammed everything. So let's go do number 8. Okay, we're going to do something a little bit different with number 8. With number 8, I will tell you, this is the structure that I got when I finished diagramming my key. So right now I want you to take a look at this structure, and I want you to figure out on your number 8, when you try diagramming it on your own, did your diagram look like this? If not, can you figure out what you misplaced? And can you figure out where I put all the words? Okay, here you are with number 9. I will tell you on number 9, this verb right here is actually quite long. You have some helping verbs, so make sure that you have all the helping verbs up here. There are actually 3 words that should be on this part of the line, and so those words should not be dangling because they do move you on the timeline. Other than that, I think that number 9 is pretty straightforward. So looking at this diagram, compare it to what you have on your exercise and see if they match. If they don't, figure out where you went wrong. And here you go for number 10. Again, I think this is a pretty straightforward one. Do make sure when you're diagramming this that where these 2 lines join to separate your subject from your verb, you don't want any of your danglies to come near that. So leave some space where you're separating your subject and your verb. But other than that, I think Penelope and her knitting is probably the most straightforward sentence on this particular set of practices. So hopefully you are ready for the test. Good luck.